Diablo 2 Distilled. Changes since last episode. Didn't like how Exploding Arrow was working over time. So back in this patch or so, down here, I changed Exploding Arrow to be 200% source damage, which means that it amplified all damage on the weapon. This is not like enhanced damage. This is a source multiplier for all base damage. So if you have a ring with fire damage, it doubles that. If you have a bow with poison damage like I currently have, it doubles that, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. So we're back down to normal damage. I didn't like it overall, which means that Exploding Arrow is probably pretty weak right now. It also means that I probably need to buff it, which I have not done. A lot of balancing issues still, of course, as this is very experimental and these videos are representing playtest time. I do some basic testing on other characters, but I generally don't. I'm not doing a lot of playtesting on this mod at this time, just what you're seeing on YouTube here. So just kind of my way of sharing the mod as well as testing the mod at the same time. So we did have an issue with, there was a missile in there that wasn't supposed to be there, and it was on the wrong line, even if it was. And this caused some hard-coded missiles on this guy's death to malfunction and crash the game. So luckily we figured that out. Didn't take too long, but it did take a little bit of time. I was very sad when I found out that that was broken. But I've finally gotten around to some of this kind of stuff. It's not perfect. I also did this, reduce potion effectiveness. So let's talk about this real quick. I don't have it listed here, but I do have some stuff. I'll make sure that this is up to date. So potion effectiveness was too high. I don't like potions generally, and I want them to fall off so that you are very reliant on lifesteal, mana steal, mana and life per kill, and regeneration. More of a sustain and attrition style gameplay in general. And because of this, I also didn't want to have enemies have super high drain effectiveness. So here is this. So in the base game, many of the undead already had a 0% drain effectiveness, where if you hit them with a lifesteal attack, it would drain no life. It also drains no mana. So a bunch of undead like skeletons are still 0. Some zombies, I think, are 50%. I think most of them are 0. I can double check that real quick here. Where is the drain column? So yeah, zombies are 50% and the skeletons are 0. Similarly, all animals and all demons have been upgraded to 100% for the most part. Things like wraiths, I believe, were kind of like 100% or 75% in normal. I am not respecting the difficulties so much anymore. Enemies are going to be stronger in greater difficulties, and they're going to have more resistances or more health or more damage. They might be in larger numbers or whatnot. But for the most part, I want you to be able to look at an enemy and say, okay, I know what's going to happen here. Yeah, maybe it's poison immune on normal, but it's also poison and cold immune on nightmare. Stuff like that. I haven't gone through and made things like skeletons poison immune at this time, but I do think it makes sense that something that is quite literally just bones can't really be poisoned or envenomed or whatnot. If it was acid damage, that would be different, corroding it away and burning it away. But So we've got that change with the drain effectiveness. So a lot of that is there. A lot of bosses like Duriel, I think is actually still 100%, but Diablo and Andariel and Mephisto and Bale are now set to 50% drain effectiveness. I'm not sure if drain effectiveness is already cut for bosses. I'd have to double check that. I wasn't really thinking about that at the time. I just did it. But the idea is that this way I can change how the difficulty levels adjust drain effectiveness as well. In the base game, they made it so that it like 1/3 is missing. So in Nightmare, it's like 2/3, and in Hell, it's 1/3. And so you get this situation where you have like 30% lifesteal, and it's, you know, cut drastically to 10% in Hell difficulty. But so some of that might be changing. It may not stay that way. This mod and my playtests are very focused on normal. Let me get normal to actually make sense and feel good before I ever mess with, you know, anything mid-game or late game. That's going to be a whole nother challenge. And it's a huge scope creep. So I'm just trying to keep my scope much more narrow to just normal difficulty. So did some attack rating AC type HP, whatnot, spot checks. It's just a handful of enemies, nothing crazy. You know, I didn't go through and do like a lot of stuff there, but did some damage value checks, and I'm just kind of like looking at, is this damage within reason? My character currently has like 120 health, and so if an enemy is doing 50 damage, it's probably too much. If it's doing 20 damage, that actually might be fair, especially if it's elemental. And even if it's 50 damage and it's elemental, that's probably fair too. Physical damage resist is not, percentage resistance is not in this mod, but that's more of a Nightmare and Hell difficulty kind of thing. HP randomness has been adjusted, so some bosses like the Ancients, which maybe we'll get to today, they are still random. And I made it so that bosses, and most bosses weren't random anymore, but I did make it so some bosses like the Ancients no longer have random health. I want that to be a very specific challenge. It's the only place in the game that you can't teleport out of because it resets the statues. So I did choose the higher health on that. I didn't average it or anything. And then physical resistances and magic resistances are now more focused on a per unit basis. So at the moment, there is no mace class because technically I've kind of removed it from the game. It was used as a base class for a lot of weapons. So if you remove the blunt item type from a bunch of items like rods, which included staves, they're still staff type and they just no longer have the damage to undead. But if you remove it from, say, mace class weapons, there is no primary type to that, so the game doesn't know how to display that. So I will have to do a code edit to fix that. And it's mostly just to make sure that it still understands that this is a mace class or whatnot. But for right now, there's technically no mace class in the game. They still just function as regular weapons. And since we're not using like a barbarian or something with mace mastery, this doesn't affect us right now. So what does this mean? Going through, and I have changed things like, again, undead to be more unit by unit instead of a global undead bonus, which wasn't even that good to begin with. This is actually better this way. It does more damage, technically. So if you go up to a skeleton, skeletons are -50 physical resistance. If you go up to the same thing as for zombies and unravelers and mummies, they're all 50%, -50% physical resistance. So it doesn't matter if you're using a bow. It doesn't matter if you're using a mace. It doesn't matter if you're using a sword. But previously, the 50% was added into the kind of enhanced damage calculation, which made it just like really tacked on right at the end. And it's good, but it's not nearly as good as it probably thinks you probably would know and think that it would be. Diablo 1 did it as an actual multiplier, and Diablo 2 didn't. So this is more unit by unit. Most units do not have any physical resistance whatsoever. The Ancients do, and I left that alone for now, since I'm going to be fighting them hopefully today. I didn't want to make it easier for myself. There is one of the Ancients has 70% physical resistance. It also has 70% fire resistance. So we will figure out if I can actually kill it at all. Then we have magic resistances, and a lot of magic resistances have been removed. Most of them didn't really exist in normal difficulty, but both of these were commonly increased in Nightmare and Hell, just across the board, where like almost every enemy has 50% magic and 50% physical resistance in Hell. And I'd rather tone that down and make it more unit by unit and more iconic oriented, like thematically oriented, such as, say, first of all, I don't like physical resistances that much because I can just adjust health and adjust the elemental resistances and give the same result, more or less, right? For the most part. I'd rather have a focus between armor and attack rating and health than physical resistances. And same thing with magic resistance. Magic in the mod is now considered more of a pure damage. So many of the abilities that deal magic damage may need to be drastically adjusted, either cut in half or otherwise spot checked. But there's only a handful of those. There's Concentrate, I think, converts to magic. There's Magic Arrow, which doesn't do a whole lot of damage to begin with. There's, of course, all the bone skills. But this and of course, Blessed Hammer. I can't forget Blessed Hammer. But these now are basically pure damage. Blessed Hammer probably will not have its bonus to undead or ignore resistance to undead at some point, since everything is either undead or demon most of the time anyway. I don't want to just make things super effective at all times in every single location. So right now, we don't have a lot of immunities in normal, but the next time I start a new character, I'm going to take a pause. I'll probably do some like Hades videos or something just to kind of fill the gap. Maybe a run of Hades, a run of Halls of Torment, something like that. And I'll work on this in the background. At the end of the day, this is still very much a mechanics channel. This is very much an experimentation. I just love Diablo 2, and it's easy to mod for the most part. It's an ancient game, and it's a fun game to replay even 20 some years later. So, yeah, so some other things. I have not gotten into the power curves, the weapon damages, but with this change to physical resistances, such as like undead being more literally weak to physical damage, we're probably going to see me make some changes to bows and arrows and stuff like that being potentially lower damage. Just a little bit as you get into kind of where I'm at right now, where bows are going to be more focused on maybe, using cold arrows or fire arrows or magic arrows to get that damage out of it, multi-shot, etc., to get that damage out of it. And so it will mean that a lot of that is a little bit weaker, which means that crossbows might be a little bit stronger because regular bows might be nerfed just ever so slightly. And I'm thinking probably in the space of like 15% or so maybe on regular bows. But the idea would be that you need to really build your character and really embrace what you're doing. And if you need the elemental damage, you could go find a bow with some sockets on it and slap some poison gems or some fire gems in there if you really had to. To fix the crash that I did last, to fix this crash here, I didn't know it was a missile causing the crash. I didn't know whether it was a code edit causing the crash. So I just basically went through and I started disabling things until I found out what file or what was related to the crash, until I found that there was this you know, 1 out of 700 missiles was just completely out of place and not supposed to be there. Because of that, I did multiple Nilithak runs up to Nilithak, and then the game would crash and then revert some of my progress from like the minute or so before I crashed. So in the process of that, going over to the game itself here, my character has leveled up a couple times and found some things. So we've got a ton of gems that we found. I found this amulet. I also found another amulet. I think I sold it. Got a perfect gem from a gem shrine. I had a flawless. Well, I had an emerald in my pocket. I had a gem shrine in another video that turned it flawless, and then I got that same flawless turned into perfect. And apparently, I have not adjusted the poison damage to be a flat amount of poison damage on gems. I need to do that. Okay. Note to self. So, for all intents and purposes, poison damage and fire ground damage is intended to not have variance anymore, and I apparently have missed that on the gems. And there's just so many pieces. You know, there's gems, there's rune words, there's sets, there's uniques, there's regular affixes, both prefix and suffix. They're separate files. You know, the stuff I was just talking about in the other image there, the documents, you know, that's about an hour's worth of work. We're not talking about a lot of time spent on this right now. So here's where we're at. Yeah. And I did find this. I just wanted to show it off. This is unmodded, completely unmodded. Other than maybe the durability is way too high. Maybe it's not, I don't know. The staff. But what's the durability on this thing? Yeah, 2021. Oh, the durability on this staff is probably way too high. But it looks like it's a exceptional nightmare quality staff there. It's a war staff and not a regular staff. So 25% deadly strike is kind of interesting to have on a staff. Of course, sorceress skill levels. I didn't make this, but I will point out that there were a lot of mage weapons in the base game that had something like 50% mana leech, or in this case, deadly strike, which is critical strike. It's rolled separately from critical strike, but it does like critical strike is one roll. Barbarian Masteries and Claw Masteries is another roll, and then Deadly Strike is another roll. So each one has an independent chance of succeeding if the others fail. If one of them succeeds, you can't get double values, but because they all do the same thing. Anyway, so that's Deadly Strike, but I just think it's funny that it's on a staff. So I'm going to sell that staff. Now that I've shown it off, we're just going to get rid of it. I think my gloves broke at one point, so I bought some new gloves. They're just 11 dexterity, nothing too extreme. And then we still have some of these helmets in here that I can't wear unless I get a lot of strength. So. And this amulet's probably not useful to me either, but there's my old bow. You can see that it does a lot of physical damage, where this one does a lot of poison damage and fire damage. And this one has lifesteal and that one doesn't. So we may want to have this bow, for some circumstances. There's that lightning damage that probably should be something closer to like 6 to 36 or 10 to 36 or something like that. I'm going to swap this out. Put this in here. Got Angelic Halo. I think I found that somewhere along the way in one of those runs. So I don't think it was on camera. 20 to life and 6 life regen over 10 seconds. Angelic Halo seems like it is a ring that probably should be dropping earlier than level 12. But I haven't really messed with sets and stuff too much. Next commentary is going to be on potions here. So we've got greater healing potions are now reduced. So this greater healing potion got changed from 113 to 60. It's a pretty extreme change. It also got changed from 53 ticks to 100 ticks. So a little more than 2 seconds to a whole 4 seconds. So regen on potions is going to be a lot slower, and this includes mana potions. And both mana potions and health potions are not quite equivalent. So mana potions are still quite a bit smaller than health potions, so that you're a little bit more dependent on actually managing your mana and not just popping a potion and getting a ton of it. But notice how this is just a little bit below 50% of my current health, and then this is just similarly below 50% of my mana. But the super potion is now 9/16, and I may probably push that up to 10/16. It no longer has flat values on. So behind the scenes, I have a percentage of health or mana plus a flat value. And so I have inverted, and I think I talked about this like 2 videos ago that I was going to do this. I've inverted the formulas that I've been using. So lower level potions have something like regular tiny little potions, minor health potions. They're like 2/16 because I'm incrementing the first number. So 2/16 plus like 30 health. So your early health potions, they're going to give you 30 health plus whatever 1/8 of your maximum is, which means that you're going to have quite a good value out of those early potions. And these later potions are going to be weaker. Now, I have not play tested these potions or these numbers. So maybe they need to be stronger in the later game, but the idea is that they should approach something here, for example, they should approach something like 60% of your maximum health. So 9/16 is below 60%, 10/16 is above 60%. So I'll probably end up going with 10/16 after this video. But the idea is that the flat value, such as 30 on health, it's much smaller. It's like 12 on mana. It then decrements down to 0 by the super potion. So the super mana potion has no flat bonus. It's purely just, at this time, it's 9/16. And then because it's slower, you can't just rely on it to instantly refill you. Again, this is meant to be more of an attrition-oriented gameplay. And, you know, that may not be your style. It is my style. I do consider some aspects of like the Dota genre to be kind of an extension of the Diablo genre. It's both top-down, you're controlling one hero, things like that. You're just not defending a base in Diablo. But you still have your skills, maybe not a full skill tree, but you have your skills and your usage. And I think Grim Dawn embraces this really well. I'm a big fan of Grim Dawn. You know, you can judge me all you want for that. I could never fully get into Path of Exile, though it is an excellently built game. It just feels even more complex to my mind than Grim Dawn. And I have my own beefs with Grim Dawn's exceptional complexity. So we can see that exploding arrow is... I know I fixed it, but I think the poison damage is still just so much. There's poison and fire on this. But you can see it takes like 6 hits now. I think I was probably doing something closer to 4 hits or even 5 hits before. These kind of dudes either have 50% or 0% draining or leech value. Here, we found a super potion. Let's look at that. So super potion is 81. So this is where things like the rejuvenation potions may come in handy. Right now they're 30%, but maybe they get changed to something else. And then there's no full rejuvenation potions because I just don't want you to have them. I'm just that guy. Again, I want it to be more of a attrition based. You have to actually plan and go and do. Had a discussion the other day, yesterday, about adding sockets to gloves and boots. A lot of mods do this, and I need mana. In the past I said I'd probably never do this to myself. I've done it to another mod before. You can see that potion still did quite a bit there. Potions can still crit, so there's still like a small chance that potions will double heal. I think the idea behind that was... Yeah, so that's a double heal. Probably shouldn't be that common. But the idea is that you don't know how much a potion's going to do in Diablo 1. And so there was randomness to the potion. And then in Diablo 2, they did it differently. So it's more of a critical heal. Anyway, I think this is where I want to be. Let's go see. One of these, is it? Drifter Cavern. I've mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, because I tend to repeat myself, but also because there might be different people watching different episodes, or pieces of these videos. One of the things I wanted to do and plan to do is to make enemies a little bit more RPG-esque. It's going to be a weird statement, but compared Diablo maybe to Darkest Dungeon, where when you run against, you know, certain enemies, they're bleeding immune, or they're fire immune, or they're whatever, or they're weak to holy. And so you have to figure out how to handle that in more of an, you know, RPG strategy dynamic. So right now, you know, I have this skill tree that's... I do have an extra skill here. I haven't balanced the Valkyrie, and I don't want to just randomly have this super Valkyrie, though I might have to level it up for the Ancients. I don't want to stick around forever on this character. Once we beat the Ancients and Baal, we'll be done with this character, at least for now. Might come back to it, like, forever in the future, but we'll be starting another character and doing the slog again. But, you know, so like some of these enemies, I don't know if they're actually weak to fire at the moment, but these guys probably should be, you know, weak to fire or something. My goodness gracious. This is the kind of stuff I really enjoy. So, I talk about a lot in other videos, especially like my Halls of Torment videos and my Grandia videos. I like chunky game design. I want you to feel absolutely overpowered because you got lucky, or because you strategized, or something. If you look at, say, Diablo 1, you could find, maybe not quite something this powerful. That might be a tad too powerful. You know, 6 would have been pretty good, 7 would have been pretty good, but 9 might be too much. I don't know. I can think about that later. But the point is I like this chunky game design, this paradigm that if it's not big enough to pick up and equip, it's not big enough to exist. And everyone's going to have a different opinion on what's big enough, right? But in the context of something like 6% mana stolen, I don't want to pick up a 2% mana ring. Personally. I don't find it big enough to make a difference, especially early game. I'm just kind of wandering around, and I really shouldn't do that. Probably get another level in here, though. Not enough mana. We might need another level to defeat the Ancients here. This is not going to be the easiest location for sure. It's been a long time since I've been in Act 5. I play Diablo 2 maybe once a year. Maybe twice a year. Nowadays, I don't play, you know, Resurrected, and I don't play a lot of the other stuff, but... Let's see here. That's the waypoint. One of these is the right trail, and I've got boots that make me run like an Olympic champion here. To the frozen tundra. I think this is where we want to be. Let's put up a safety portal. But I want you to feel powerful, going back to the whole chunky thing. If you're playing a roguelike, so Diablo 1 was based on Rogue and Ultima, and I mean the original Rogue. Not just random roguelike number 17 made by indie company. But the original Rogue, it was meant to be turn-based, go figure, and eventually, of course, was changed to not be. Basically creating a new genre in the process of not being turn-based. But in the process of that, if you get into Diablo 1, I highly suggest, if you've ever played Diablo 2, it might be hard to do it if you're used to modern games. But Diablo 1 is just a different game. It is more horror. It just has this ominous presence to it. Maybe not horror, but there's ominence to it, and it just feels amazing to have that appeal. You've got just kind of wandering stuff. You've got random quests, random items, and you can go and find, for example, a ring with 25 to, well, in that game it's magic, in this game it's normally energy. But 25 to magic, or 20 to magic. Let's go 20. That's probably a lot easier to find than 25. And that's going to mean a lot. Partially because characters actually have a cap hard-coded in onto their class. So the warrior can't get can't invest into spirit. You're capped to a certain amount. The warrior is also capped to a certain amount of dexterity. So you have to rely on your equipment to actually get to a certain, point. You might not have the attack rating with a warrior to actually finish out the game in the same way that you normally expect to. And I've actually debated on putting caps in this game. I probably won't. It's not my prerogative, but 49% is pretty good. I haven't rebalanced shields since I did some math on them, but eventually I'll rebalance some shields here. Don't know where that arrow was aimed at. Those really like to drop identify scrolls, apparently. Ew, a regular potion. What was that? Ring of the Wraith and Ring of the Bat. But I like embracing this this ability for you to feel powerful. And I know most people play Diablo as this farming, grinding game. It's never been, in my mind, a pure grinding game to me. Maybe I'm just weird, probably the answer there. But the idea that you're trying to get through the game and find what you need to get through the game. Maybe you're playing with friends and you can share loot. Obviously, later games did that a little bit better, due to, in normal Diablo 2, you don't have shared, separate loot or anything like that. These dudes are annoying. But just kind of this this kind of roguelike feeling where, you know, finding that super rare or super whatever. And in that context, that's why I have uniques and set items much more common. But the idea is that they're not meant to be ultra super broken either. They're meant to be fair, but valuable. So set items, I really like partial set. It's kind of changing the subject, but set items, I really like partial sets. But I do have to say that it really feels bad when you find a single piece of a set and it only has 1 or 2 modifiers on it. Like that last one, it was +1 to sorceress skills, and then suddenly nothing else. Sorry, got distracted from real life there for a second. So I don't know how much I'm going to keep a lot of the partial set bonuses in. Maybe I'll minimize it so that each set piece only has, you know, a single extra attribute when it's partial. There we go. We're almost there. We're also almost leveled up. This will probably make some of the set items a little bit better. But right now, if you look at like a lot of the lower level sets, they only have 2 stats. You know, and they might be good stats. But you're sacrificing potentially other good stats to wear them. And unless you find the other piece of the set, you really farm it up, which is not my intention for you to do. Then you're just getting robbed of what could have been closer to a unique. I don't want that many health potions at this time. I do want that many mana potions. I didn't mess with these guys' stats here. But I do want to find... I don't remember what these guys are even called. I think they're like Bale minions. I don't think they're called whatever they're called here. Skill Shrine. Don't mind if I do. But the idea would be is like these guys are probably really high health, the ice guys, and the other guys are like more armor, less health, more armor. And then I did mess with some variations on health. It was more towards like Act 1 type enemies though, where this is probably less known, but enemies have variant health. I talked about it in the intro. Enemies have variant health. Which means that you might have an enemy that has normally just a random number here. Let's say one enemy has 500 health and another enemy has 400 health. This means that you shoot an arrow at it and it does not die. The first one might, especially if you're using some area of effect like exploding arrow or later game frozen orb, blizzard, that kind of thing. I didn't want the sword there. Let's get rid of that. But by creating variants like this, then you have different threat levels, which I appreciate. I think it's more obvious in Diablo 1 that they're doing it, because you end up with, you know, here's the same enemy. This one took 3 hits, that one took 1. And as I get deeper into the balancing aspect, right now I'm very focused on the like core components like code editing and just removing certain stats and changing how stuff works. But when I get into more of the core balancing mode of this, And I'll probably need a lot of playtesters to ever actually make it truly balanced, for sure. That's a hard challenge. Then at that point, I will be... Let's see what we got. 4 to maximum damage. -5 to spirit. Whoops. Don't wear that one. Oh, I lost track of what I was doing because I read that negative intelligence amulet, you know? It just threw my brain into another world there. Ooh, experience shrine. Oh, random health, that's what it was. And time to kill, or hits to kill, however you want to say that. I use them kind of interchangeably. Whew. I don't know about that all resistance +4, but it just feels good. That just feels good. Do I want to go to the icy cellar? I don't think so. An evil urn. Let's do it! Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. One of them has mana burn. Which means they probably all have mana burn, because a bunch of those effects just spawn in the entire lump.
Not enough mana.
Yep. He has mana burn.
I need mana.
You can see that I'm actually regenerating a decent amount of mana on my own. Let's just stop attacking here. You can see that it's actually regenerating quite a bit. And how that works is that I've changed the mana regeneration here. So it's 3 per frame, and that's 3 256ths per 25 fifths of a second. So we do actually have good regeneration, and that's intentional. It means you aren't as reliant on everything else in the game. You can rely on just stepping back. Let's just do this here. But it's 3 256ths per frame, which ends up being 3 every about 10 seconds mana regeneration, and then it's also plus a half of a percentage of your mana pool. The health formula is a little simpler. It's just literally 1% per second. Well, with the math of the 25 frames and such. What's interesting is this is actually a sort of reduction. So if you have a high or a very large mana pool in the mod, you will actually have less mana regeneration. It is a little flatter, a little lower. But if you have a small mana pool, it is a little larger. So the Barbarian with only, 10 or 15 starting mana, he's still getting what's the equivalent of 4 mana regeneration per 10 seconds. That's still only 2 attacks. That's two attacks every 10 seconds for the Barbarian. So naturally, that's not actually that much. Let's make sure we got that. Double tap it. And I'm also wearing this. That's where I'm getting all the mana regeneration. I'm also wearing this. You can see it's a little slower, about 1.5 per second without it. Something else might have mana regeneration on it. I don't know. No, I don't think it does. But so if the base is about 4, then I'm getting 11 mana regen per 10 seconds at bare minimum. But it's probably actually closer to like 14, probably. I don't know. I'd have to calculate it. You know. So what's half of 71? Let's call it 3.5. Plus 3 is 7.5. Plus the 7 that we got. Yeah, it's about 14.5 mana per 10 seconds. It sounds like so much, right? But it's also sort of not. Like you can see this is just, it's just a little faster than 1 per second. It's closer to 2 per second. That's assuming I did the math right. And side note is, of course, I don't have percentage mana regeneration in the game as a normal stat. It can still appear on specific items, but for the general structure of the game, it's gone. So that's gone. So it's the same thing as health regeneration. I don't know if I have a health regeneration item here. But normally it says something like, 3 replenish life plus 3 or something. And so it uses that. Now, I did do some code editing at one point back in September, maybe. It's currently November, just for reference of future watchers. You're watching this like 3 months later. So a couple months ago. And that adjustment was to actually change the order and function of how mana regeneration works. So normally, you would just stack percentage mana regeneration bonuses. And instead of 1/200 base regen of your mana, or excuse me, yeah, 1/200 is my formula. It's they use it as a timer, so you refill your entire mana pool over that many seconds. Mine is 1/200. The base is 1/20. 1/120. Make sure that I get that 100 in there. Which meant that your base mana pool regenerated over 2 minutes. Whole mana pool. So if you had 100 mana, or 120 mana over 120 seconds, you'd have 1 mana per second. Oh boy, here we go. What do we want to invest in? I am going to take a point in Valkyrie. I will try not to use it first, and see where we're at. Otherwise, this number is completely wrong. I don't know what it's actually doing. I think it's closer to like 40 or 50 damage right now. It's not 162. It's definitely nowhere close to that. Oh, I need to remove the 3 half weapon damage thing there. We'll just go exploding arrow.
The fabled home of the ancients.
So these guys are not changed other than the global changes that are requisite to the mod itself. So they will stagger occasionally. That guy is staggering way too often. Wonder if I have a number wrong somewhere. Because they shouldn't be staggering like that. Should be a 5% chance to stagger from a bow. Okay. So if they hit me, it does hurt. But I do have these absolutely incredible boots here. And this very broken armor that gives me tons of movement speed, so I can kite them. Speaking of boots and armor, I will probably be making it so that you won't be as reliant on movement speed in this mod. Yeah, I'm doing quite a bit of poison damage. I think he's like immune to poison somehow. So you'll have kind of more of the opportunity of, if you want to kite, you can. If you don't want to kite, you don't have to. I will probably be changing the diminishing returns on both attack speed and movement speed. And I'll still debate on potentially, yeah. So this is actually not as hard as I expected. Partially because I can literally kite them forever. And base movement speed in the mod is actually significantly lower, so normally it's 9, in the mod it's 6. So if I was wearing the same gear in vanilla, I'd be even faster movement. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? If it doesn't, it should. One of these guys is fire resistant, so we might have to pull out magic arrow for him. I don't know which one it is. Very clearly wasn't that guy that I killed, because he died pretty quick. He keeps leaping, which causes me to miss, surprisingly. Some random 3D hit amounts, or hit structure, hit code. This fight is exemplary of, you know, kind of what I want the mod to feel like a little bit too, where you go into a location and you just have to deal with what you have. This fight does not allow you to teleport out. There's some abuses that exist with it, but such as putting the teleport before the front door. But you have to be multiplayer, I think, for that to work.
I need mana.
Okay, what do we got? We don't have guided arrow. Guided arrow would be really good here. Let's do magic arrow and see how it does. Luckily, magic arrow is very, very cheap. Well, it's actually 3 in the mod. It's more expensive in the mod than normal. But I have the regeneration from this armor to totally make up for that. Ow. Okay, we're just... How about this? We'll use that. Oh, they ate right through it. Well, okay then.
I need mana. Not enough mana.
But I do plan on either adjusting or removing the diminishing returns on things like movement speed and attack speed and cast speed. I got staggered into the 3rd hit.
Salutations.
Oh, we don't have a belt, so we're just going to have to do something like this. So at least we have the safety portal up. We can go grab our body and start over here. Well, that was no good. Okay, one of these... The axe thrower who has shout. I suppose it's just shout. I'm actually curious. They have a 95% chance to hit me. I have a 95% chance to hit them. Go figure. What just happened? Well, okay then. That just happened. That hurt. He, like, hit me with some poison damage and a crit. Like, all at once. Let's see here. Maybe we can do this. I don't know how useful it'll be, but... Nah, they're not going to stay still long enough. I don't need the map open there. Whew. Some nice nasty spins in my face there, almost. No, no, no. So you see that health potion just wasn't very good. That's great. I like it. So it makes you have to use more potions. It makes you have to be safer. No, no, no. The axe thrower is actually a big threat because he also has a 5% chance to stagger me with those axes, and that's if he doesn't have a 50% chance to stagger from doing those bigger hits. No, go, 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 go. Don't stand still. Don't be standing still. The Ancients also get random stats when they spawn, kind of like the Valkyrie and the Shadow Master. So I don't know what they have, but I'm definitely not finishing off the Axe Thrower, I think, as quickly here this time.
I need mana.
I also don't seem to be leeching from them, and I know I have 100% leech set on these guys, so it could just be because I don't do any damage to them. Okay, we still almost have this guy down. He is the guy is, he's strong versus poison and fire, I believe. And I think he's immune to poison in hell difficulty. In the future, I debated on doing it for the video, but in the future, these guys are probably just going to be similar to other things. They may just be straight up, you know, immune to certain elements, even in normal. So Talik here, he's probably the dude that's, pretty sure he's the one that's the 75% fire, or 70% fire. And do not touch me with that, please. That is a mean little axe thing. Here, I'm just going to do this real quick. Bunch more dexterity, a little bit more damage maybe. There we go.
Not enough mana.
I know this fight is not very interesting to watch. I'm sorry. It's a very hard fight, too. Even with my movement speed, I'm only just barely kiting these guys. And part of that is they probably have a base movement speed of 9, most likely. So I was talking earlier, I want to change like the required amount of movement speed. This is meant to make it so that both enemy and player alike are a little bit more... Oh my gosh! What was that, 10 health, 9 health? Are a little bit more... how to say... in range of each other. So enemies will be more dangerous because you're slower, but they don't have to be absolutely crazy fast because the access to movement speed is more of a choice instead of a guarantee. You know, something like these boots, I can't show them off right now. 30% faster run walk, you know, we look at that right now in the context of normal Diablo 2, and we go, oh, that's really good. That's expected. We expect to have that on everything. But heavy armor no longer has a slow to it. Heavy shields no longer have a slow to them either. So you're not required to have crazy movement speed because you're not being slowed down by, at least if you're a barbarian, especially, or paladin or some of the other classes, because you're not avoiding or dealing with the offset of the movement speed of the armor. Now, should shields and armors slow you down in a realistic fashion or a Dark Souls fashion or various other gameplay? Absolutely. I don't really appreciate or like it in the Diablo-like genre as much, and it's also been hidden in almost every game that has done it. I think it's hidden in Path of Exile. I think it's hidden in Diablo 2. And I'd rather it just be more explicit. So you want to create an explicit heavy plate armor that gives movement speed reduction at the at the value of health or something. You want to create old school Arcane's Valor, which someone was talking about with me recently. It had like 250 bonus health. And it's like, well, what if that came at 20% movement speed reduction? Right? Having these more explicit and less hidden mechanics.
I need mana.
And maybe you don't care about the movement speed because you have that much health, you just don't care. And remember, health in the mod has that regeneration factor, so 250 health is also 2.5 health regeneration. Which, in Diablo, it's not that much, but with potions being weaker, you'll feel it probably. I have to rely on my mana potion, or my mana regeneration right now, which is actually kind of neat, talking about that previously. And I'm out of potions, but I can still kind of use my stuff here. So it's 12 per shot. If I can get a hit off, I get a little bit back, partially because they have such high physical resistances. I can't leech from them very easily. An exploding arrow does add physical damage in the mod, and in the future I will probably add some other stuff like meteor might have a physical component. So the crash of the meteor might be physical in the future, which is probably going to be very unique or different compared to a lot of expectations from a Diablo-like. This would be definitely more of maybe a Grim Dawn style decision. But it means that it's all of a sudden... No! Oh! Heart attack. I got caught right in the middle of that, right as he started. There we go.
I can't.
I did not want to die again. That's such a long fight. So I don't know that necessarily this fight needs to be that long. It's not intended to be a fight that's long per se, but maybe more of a gear check in other ways. I just happen to have these boots of kiting, basically, and this I've got 55% movement speed here. This is absolutely insane. And I'm very likely to nerf stealth in multiple ways, such as I will probably remove the maximum stamina, because it's just not meaningful in the mod, and I will probably eventually just remove all stamina effects from this mod in the long term. While I like durability and I like some other stuff, stamina is highly underutilized and designed here, and it is not of a strong meaning. I could make it more meaningful, and I have in the past, and it felt great, where it regenerated really, really quickly. And so you had to... okay. Random portal shrine there. But I've since just decided to not care. So in the mod right now, your stamina is started at 100 and it's capped at 100 for all intents and purposes. And that is the luckiest bridge ever. Okay, we're going to put another one in Exploding Arrow. We're going to focus that down. We probably need more health. Something I haven't done but need to do is the idea of the mechanics affix. I would like to make the mechanics affix more common a little bit on blue items.
Not enough
And the reason for this is a blue item has higher stats, technically, in the mod. Less true in the base game, but still technically true in the base game. Let's go back to town here. That was actually a good drop of potions, but I'm going to need some more.
Good evening.
Oh yeah, they give experience. I forgot about that. Let's get rid of that one. Let's get... That should not be 400. Okay, whatever. That should be like a negative value, probably. I do have them as subtracting or something value. But there's no other modifier in there to add value, so it's just being weird. I'm not sure how that's fully calculated either, so it's a little tricky. I don't think I'm ever going to have the strength to wear these. Or I'll have the level to wear it, but not the strength, I mean. Let's just put this in here. But having like a blue item, having like 2 or 3 sockets, the idea is that like you only got to... you only were able to roll 2 effects. That was the wrong portal. No, that was the right portal. And so the sockets would then offset any other needs there. Ooh, an orc rune. Missed it. 25%. That's whatever. So magic items having the mechanics affix would probably be more common, slightly, than the base game. Rares would be able to spawn with a single socket only, ever.
I need mana.
And the idea would be is that this is just, you know, a super crazy advantage to be able to choose an affix, but you would be losing an affix to get the roll. So you're sacrificing whatever could have rolled for something of your choice, via like a rune or something. I'm either getting really lucky or this is just absolutely tiny in normal. The maps do get bigger as the difficulty goes up. So I talked about attack speed and movement speed. The attack speed formula is a diminishing return formula, and I think almost the exact same formula is used for cast speed and movement speed. And it's something that sort of caps out around 100 attack speed. It takes an absolute massive amount of attack speed to get anywhere. And I guess there was a point in time where this wasn't true, where it was just linear attack speed. And I think the biggest problem was you could stack it so easily. And go figure. And I would love for you to be able to stack attack speed at the cost of other things. So in this case, I will almost guaranteed eventually get into the code where the attack speed is. I know where it is. I've seen it. I've looked at it. Because I edited it, or I tried to edit it for the dexterity thing that I did a few patches ago, or a few videos ago. I ended up just soft coding it into this skill for the Amazon, but whew. That kind of hurt. Can't click it. But being able to maybe have a softer formula where, you know, your first 20 attack speed isn't in any form diminished. So if you get 20 attack speed, it's just 20 attack speed. If you get anything more than 20 attack speed, then maybe it starts to go into a diminishing returns formula. And then maybe the diminishing returns formula that it's going into is actually pretty soft. So, you know, your first 20 attack speed is 20 attack speed. Your second 20 attack speed is maybe, you know, 16 or something. It's just reduced a little bit. And so there might be just hard-coded breakpoints instead of an actual formula. I might start with hard-coded breakpoints and then move into a formula that calculates similar and matches the curve. But the idea would be that if you have 50 attack speed, you have 50 attack speed. That's just what it is. Diablo 2 is also restricted by frame rate. It is a frame-locked visual logical combo. So a modern game would not be frame-locked like Path of Exile or Dota or Diablo 3. And I do question how hard it would be to... It would be really difficult, but I do question how hard it would be to uncap this or unlock this, because it would mean that you could have intermediate points of value. Right now you do need to hit, say, you know, 67% attack speed to get the next frame. You know, or a lot of attack speed is like 9% for the first thing, but then it's like, you know, 22 or something for the second frame difference. And then right now, because of the... As it is, because of the diminishing returns formula, a bunch of weapons... They gain a lot of value out of the first few points of attack speed, say like the crossbow, which is really slow. But then it can't get much more because it's hard to get so much attack speed. So what's interesting is because it's frame locked and because they're slow, they have more sort of granularity, although they do require something, you know, like 250 attack speed to ever really reach the same speed as a relatively faster bow. I don't know if we can kill Bale in the normal 90-minute limit that I try to hold to here. Try. Definitely not a speedrunner here. Decrepify. Okay. Can you summon your stuff? Oh, there's like one dude in the corner here. Oh man, that Decrepify hurts. That was a lot of slow. There we go. There's another dude over here. Where you at? Another thing I would really like to do, I don't know how possible it is, but I would really like to be able to do it, is the... Come on. There we go. Is the adjustment of how fire on the ground works, so that we can get more consistent fire damage, and he is literally immune to fire, which is great. I like it. I don't like these guys, though.
I need mana.
That's a good thing I've got some poison damage. Oh, the decrep is so bad. Suddenly losing all of my movement speed after being so fast. Do I have any attack speed? No, I don't have any attack speed. That's probably why I feel so bad. So naturally, Exploding Arrow is really good at taking out these guys because they are now weak to physical damage from all sources. Akmel the Cursed.
Not enough mana. I need mana.
Oh, they do cold damage. Decrep and cold stacked on top of each other. Here we go. Get back. Oh boy. That is a lot of fireballs coming my way. What's my fire resist? 61. That's not bad. Glad I have a lot of armor. These guys don't seem to have a high hit chance, which is interesting. These guys have like a 95% chance to hit, but those other guys, they're not very good. I guess they're technically like more of a caster, but still. Oh, get away. Get away. It's lightning enchanted. Go with Exploding Arrow on this guy. Come here. Come here. You stay over there. How about that? Yeah, there we go. At least I've got some decent lightning resistance as well. Okay. Another round done. Let's see where we're at. Is it Lister or is it something else first? What's the next one? Ah, it's these guys. And they're extra fast. Don't do what I just did. Don't use a potion at max mana, because it turns off instantly in Diablo 2. That's how potions work. If you hit max, they turn off. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's see if we can just do this instead. Yeah, that's actually kind of working. I think they're a little bit fire resistant, though. Venom Lords are fire resistant. They're confused around this corner, which is actually interesting. Really bad AI there. Not bad, it just got confused. Yeah. Not doing too shabby here. Yeah, you can see how the fire is not actually doing as much damage as it's probably stating. It is probably lying. My normal hits are doing something like... $50 to $60 minimum? It's before any resistances, though. Okay, these guys have knockback, we gotta be careful. I don't know why they keep turning around. It's weird. The Rhino Demon.
Not enough mana.
I don't know what these things are. Got like weird wing-like attachments on their arms, and they've got a horn on their face. A couple horns on their face.
Not
Ultralisks,
enough
they've learned to stand on their hind feet. Wonder if they can open doors. They've got enough hands for it, right? Technically, I don't think I need to actually kill him, but I'm going to. It's the most meaningful thing I can do here. It's not about just beating the mod, it's about beating the mod right. Yeah, I think I nerfed Immolation Arrow to the point where, because I only have like 1 point in it. Yeah, 1 point in it. I'm getting some extra from their chance to hit. 95%. How did he miss? He missed there. Oh boy. Get back to this. Oh, he went in. Okay. Yeah. I still would like to kill Lister, though. I want to prove that I can.
I am overburdened.
There he is. There's Lister. One of the reasons I nerfed Exploding Arrow back down to the normal is because if you get enough damage on the actual weapon, you're doing area of effect damage with the physical attack now. So like, suddenly this, it's not very clear here, but because they're really fat enemies, but technically if they were close enough together, I'd be poisoning all of them. And if you had cold damage, you'd be slowing them all. And so it's a quite powerful little ability here. Still not 100% sure what to do with, you know, cold arrows. They won't have probably the same utility as the exploding arrow that I've built here. But one thing I would like to do, very, very large stretch goal, or late stretch goal, would be if an enemy is chilled, it might be interesting, I think, to have chill create a weakness to physical. So just a little bit, you know, 25%, 35%, something like that. Where if an enemy is chilled, they lose some of their physical resistances. And the idea is that they are shattering. They're cold and then they shatter. It does kind of overlap with some stuff like Decrepify being a slow that reduces resistances and some other stuff there. So that is the other issue to that. Just overlapping mechanics. We beat Lister, got a level somewhere in there. Critical Strike could be good. Technically, I think the explosion can crit. I think I'd rather just put it into Exploding Arrow. We do get a 15% bonus from Fire Arrow, hard points. But I don't know that 15% of 26 is going to be valuable. And it's much lower because we're just going to put those points into health.
The World Stone.
Okay, this is the finale. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, that was nice that you used that 3 times in a row. I appreciate that.
How may I be of help?
So notice how I lost all my experience bar there. Okay, remind me I need to buy another teleport scroll. It's exploding on the candlestick there. Ah. I keep all clicking outside the game because he's right on the edge of the screen there. I am playing in windowed mode. Like a weirdo.
I need mana.
Okay, well he's standing still. That makes him a relatively easy target until he summons his clone. Go, buddy. Oh, I can't shoot over this. Nope, can't shoot over that. Go figure. I don't know if that's the clone standing up there. Oh, that fire, not fire, whatever that is, that cold shockwave thing is painful. Festering appendages need to go away. Pretty sure that's the clone standing in front. Could be wrong. If I am wrong, that's an impressive amount of damage that we've done, but I don't think... Yeah, it's the clone.
I need mana. Not a...
I missed. Ow. Ow. No, no, no. Can you stop spamming that? Jeez. Come on, man. Let me kill you. Which is the weirdest phrase ever. Pushed around, I'm getting staggered. Luckily his AI seems to be stuck on the wall again, like the Venom Lords earlier. Be in melee range of that. Ah! Oh. It hit me, but it didn't knock me back. Yeah. The nerf to potions, I feel that. You have to be ready. I think I'll still beat him if I'm careful. I just have to make sure...
Not enough
Wait.
mana.
Did you teleport or did you summon a clone? Oh, now you summoned a clone. Guess we're doing this again. Oh, at least the clone died easy.
Not enough mana.
He does have 50% leech, as mentioned earlier in the video. And these appendages probably should be like either 0 or 50% as well, since they're kind of a weird like minion structure. They're not really meant to be anything. Ah, it's a painful hit. Oh, 4 times in a row, buddy. Chill. I say he's trying to chill me, though.
My brothers will not have died in vain.
They won't? They won't have died in vain, are you sure?
I need mana.
I am out of potions. Doing what I can to not go through that portal. Playlist like I would want you to play it. Oh, it goes through walls. Because of course it does. Why not? Technically, it's like more of a missile emitter. I've played with that missile before. The front missile actually emits the side missiles, and then the side missiles emit more side missiles. So if the front one can get through the area, then the back ones will get through the area. I am getting pinned here. Okay, we got rid of the clone again. Luckily, the clone always spawns with whatever health he has. I don't like being in this corner, though. We did it! There it is! I think we have this flamberge, don't we? Didn't that... Oh, no, giant sword. We found the rip saw. Okay.
My work here is truly
Yeah, I'll throw away this chipped skull. That's not useful. This one's probably a testing one. No, it's not. I had one that was probably still glitched because it was a test item. Balance knife, Jared stone. What did we get? 2 to sorceress levels, required level 51. 9 spirit reduction, magic resist, magic damage reduced by 6, and adds fire damage. I don't think adds fire damage is supposed to be there. I'm just gonna put that out there. I don't think it's supposed to be there. It only has 4 durability though, so I guess if you really wanted to use it, you'd have to be repairing it constantly.
Hello.
That one time you use it just to kill that one enemy that's, you know, cold resistance or something. Yeah, the fire damage probably shouldn't spawn on the orbs. It might make sense to spawn on something else, like a staff, but it doesn't make any sense to spawn on the orb. Oh. Switch back to my bow here. Okay. So we did it, and only 4 minutes extra. So there's my bow, crappy gloves, mana ring, bunch of resists on my belt. I mean, yeah, it's really good. Also, the half freeze duration is removed from the game, so that's... I was kind of cheating there on accident. Mana per kill, more resistances. And those lower resistances have been removed, that you can't get a 7% anymore. Attributes, pretty good. And then all resists, faster movement speed, 200 enhanced defense, which isn't really that insane because it's a really low defense boot. Has an extra 5 defense versus missile, 10 to life, regular arrows. These will probably become magical if I can make bows into durability items, but only if I can make them into durability items. I don't want to do both. Or I don't want to do only one of them. And then helmet. It was just 39 defense, so not a very good helmet, but it served its purpose. What was Bale's chance to hit me? What was my chance to hit him? So, pretty good, pretty fair. I had 137 dexterity. I could have gone heavier into the dexterity and a little less strength, maybe less spirit and vitality. I think I have some investment in spirit, like 5 or 10 points. So, what do we get? We got Gleam Scythe. Let's see what this is. Level 13 with 2 to 8 lightning damage, which is pretty bad. Light radius, attack speed, enhanced damage. So the base damage of this thing is actually really good. Like, you can see that my bow only does 29 or 27 or something. 24. Can't even read. Can't even read right now. 20 attack speed on that is actually really good. I would say that even the damage might be... Physical damage could be lower and the lightning damage could be higher. Could be a little bit more iconic there. 80% chance to open wounds on a two-handed sword. Faster run walk. Okay, let's go through. I'm skipping that. Zephyr shall be known henceforth as Slayer Zephyr. Okay, well, we're done with that character. The Zephyr bow character here. We'll see what I decide on next time. If I can get all like the durability stuff changed, specifically like with shields, I might go kind of a heavy like smite paladin. Could be really interesting, and then having it actually reduce the durability of the shield. By default, the game actually reduces the durability of your melee weapon because it doesn't actually consider you using your shield. It just knows, hey, you're using melee attack, so I'm going to reduce the durability of your melee weapon. So that would probably be a major goal, but that also means that I have a lot of work to do to make that possible. So this is it for Distilled for a little while. Probably going to be taking a good little break, maybe 2-3 weeks, to, you know, just shore up some code and some changes so that we can get more into maybe a playtestable variation. If you want to playtest, if you made it this far, congratulations. I apparently don't bore you to death. But if you made it this far and you're interested in especially playtesting, come to the Discord. It's linked on the channel, and we'll discuss. I'm sure there's plenty of people that want to playtest at this point. I know at least 3 people have mentioned wanting to do so. So come talk to me. The more people that talk to me about playtesting, the more likely I am to actually make a build to playtest. Otherwise, I'm going to be focused more on actually just getting pieces of the mod cleaned up for my own self. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.